Shakespeare once said all the world's a stage, but he didn't tell us how to get there. This is Steps to the Stage, a 7th Street Theater podcast. I'm your host, Colin Pinedo, and let's get the show going.
Thank you, places!
Folks at home, do you have a business, small or otherwise, that isn't pulling in traffic the way you want it to? Well, it might be because they don't have something to remember you by. And that's why today we are sponsored by Graphic Details Inc., signs and displays. They will print out your banners, they'll cut vinyl, they'll do window graphics for the company cars. We're talking business cards, banner stands, LCD displays, tabletop displays, logos, all in full living color. Again, that is Graphic Details Inc. here in Chino, California. Thank you so much.
Hello again, and welcome to Steps to the Stage, a 7th Street Theater podcast where we take you through the ins and outs of a stage production with the community theater professionals you know and love. Today, we're going to discuss casting, as well as the whole audition process with a very important figure in our theater community. She's directed more shows than I can count, and even written a few of her own. It's my honor to introduce my friend and yours, Miss Dona Rice. Now, Miss Dona, welcome back.
Thank you, sweetheart. It's good to be here. I'm so happy to be here. And may I say, that was some fierce diction while speaking rapidly. I'm very proud of you as a director as well.
Oh. Thank you. I appreciate that. How have you been?
I am great.
That's
This has
fantastic.
been a theater kind of morning.
It
so it's
has.
been pretty cool to work with superstars
Yes.
and to do some scenes for our Bernies. A lot of things going
I've heard
on
about that.
and some plans for the future, for the summer. Like things are happening and it feels good.
Very exciting.
Mhm.
The first question that we have for you is, well, what is it? What is the most important thing you would like to see from somebody when they are auditioning for you?
What a great question. You know, more than anything, it has to do with the energy that an individual brings every moment that they're there. And that has to do with their presence, with how much they want it. And I don't mean walking around like, oh my goodness, I'm so hungry for this part. Please give me this part. No, it's the idea that you are fully invested and you're fully here and you show that, yeah, I'm up for this. I want it. You can count on me. When the director sees that, they're able to sit back and relax and appreciate what it is that that performer is bringing to the table. So just showing that it matters to you is really important.
Yeah.
You know, that's a thing. That's real. That's human to human interaction, and it matters.
That's great. That's a great thing to look for. Well, we talked with Debbie last episode about figuring out what show you want to put on, how to obtain rights and royalties, things like that. What is the process for like organizing and scheduling the audition from that point?
Wow. So great question. And that is, it can go many different ways, but I can tell you what I would do. So when I've got a show before me and I know that I'm going to direct that show, I'm going to go deep into the script. I'm going to read it and reread it, and I'm going to envision how it is that I see that show coming to be. I'm going to put together production teams in all areas. I'm going to have consultations with them. I'm going to talk about things that they see, because my feeling is every show is collaborative and it matters what everybody brings to the table. And their ideas are going to inform my ideas as well. And everything will evolve based on our shared work. So we start there. And as part of that, I explore character and how I envision character. There are a lot of directors who are very into the physical identity of a character. And in some instances, I too would agree. But more often than not, I come from a place of everything's fair game. And I want to see who really is going to embody the energy and the life of that character. And the physicality doesn't always inform that. So again, that's me. That's not every director, but I am usually very open per any way that we physically identify. But we do think about this. I think about those character types, quote unquote, and what I vision. I make notes about that. But honestly, I try not to limit myself either. So I have a sense of who these individuals are. Of course, I have to have that understanding. It's not just free form or free for all. I have a sense of it. But again, to collaboration, it's what the auditioners bring to the table. They're going to show up with something that makes it more, bigger, better, enhanced from what my vision is. So I need to stay flexible and open.
Yes.
So I have my character descriptions that I write up with my basic, this is what I'm thinking. put that out there for auditioners to explore and understand. And I want them to come with their own understandings as well. And when they read, I really want them to show up with what they envision and what feels right to them. Now, will I ask them to show me variances? Will something that they're playing not work for me? For sure. That may well be the case.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're flexible and adaptable too, and they jump on board with that collaboration, we're good to go. Did I answer your question? I said a lot of things.
Yes,
okay.
you did. And I appreciate the longer answer.
Thank you, love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So a follow-up to the first question of what is the most important thing you want to see, what just generally would you be looking for?
When I'm casting?
Yeah, in terms of like either like a lead or an ensemble or anything, what do you want to make sure that they...
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to that idea of that energy and that enthusiasm and that presence that they bring to their audition. This matters, that you show a director, I am here to play. I am here to be in. I'm not holding back. I'm all in. I would rather bigger and more, and let's pull back from that rather than having to push and push and push to go with it. I want all in. I want vulnerable. I want to see all that individual has to offer. You know, it's interesting. I direct a lot of children's theater.
Yes.
I've directed adults as well, but I direct a lot of children. And one of the things that we see in kids, there are some kids who are super animated in their world. You see them out with their friends and the bubbly, giggly, fun, creative, and you're thinking, this kid is so made for the stage. And then they come in for an audition and they're very quiet and very reserved, unsure, and don't really want to give much of anything. And that's an interesting dynamic. And then there are kids out in the world who are so quiet normally and so reserved and kind of more introspective. You might even think a little more introverted. And they get out for a performance and suddenly, oh my gosh, the life. Wow, I had no idea that this was all there. Whoever you are and whatever you are in the world, that is the requirement for the stage.
Okay.
So if you've got that in your life and you can't translate that for the stage, it's not going to work. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be present. You have to allow yourself to just fall into the character, to let yourself live in that performance. If you're way in your head and worried about what others are thinking about you and how you're going to be judged, and let's face it, most of we actors are pretty sensitive. That comes with the territory. But if you let yourself get in your head about that, it will keep you from being present in the moment and vulnerable and real in the moment. Again, I'm not sure if I fully answered that question because I went on a circuitous route, but it's okay, right?
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're doing good.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah. You talked about how sometimes what a person presents as or acts as in like the quote unquote like real world with like people and friends and things is not always how they present on stage.
Yeah.
You've worked a lot with kids and a lot just in theater in general. Why would you think that is? What is it about their like own lives versus like the theater world that would create that contrast?
I have some different thoughts about that.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, one is just fear and nerves,
Yes,
and that's
yes,
very
yes.
real. And we suddenly get in this room and there's this, oh, holy cow moment, and people are looking at me.
Yes.
And they're legit judging me because really that's an audition, right? You are being assessed.
Yes.
And that's part and parcel of performance is there are going to be these assessments and you have to kind of power through that and be present anyway in order to play. Ideally, you're working with a director who is loving and compassionate and collaborative, and that's all good, and you feel enhanced through all of that, and you don't feel torn down. There are some directors who that's not so much the case. God love them, but that does happen.
And our heart goes out to them.
And our heart goes out to them after their performers. But gosh, where does Miss Donna stand? That's where Miss Donna stands on that. But the other thing, and I'm going to be real, particularly with moms and dads listening.
Okay.
So we parents, and I as a parent can attest to this, we parents have certain ideas about what our kids do and don't do. And sometimes, I mean, we see so much. We know our kids so well, and we see things in our kids that they haven't even thought of for themselves. And it's so great when we're able to encourage them to try experiences and discover the wings that they have in things that they had never thought of. That's awesome. There are just going to say, there are some moms and dads who do have a certain desire for their kids to perform on stage, and that is not what their kid wants to do.
Yes.
And I have had children in my room, in my audition room, start to cry because they really don't want to be there. And their heart is not there. Now, maybe there's some other aspect of theater that's really their bag. Like maybe they will be a technical whiz and do some amazing things behind the scenes, which are so important and so creative and collaborative as well. But not everybody the stage is not right for everybody. It requires there's certain characteristics that one needs in order to get out there and to be present on the stage and to be real. So I think sometimes, oh gosh, this is so terrible for me to say, but it's really real. Sometimes we moms and dads push our kids in areas that are dreams for ourselves. And are not necessarily the dream of the child. And that can be really hard as a parent, especially when we think, and maybe even rightfully so, if they just let go and did it, they'd be great. And I'm a mom too. I can attest that I've done that plenty with my own kids, and maybe trying to encourage them in directions that wasn't what they were called to do. So that's part of what I would say about the whole why that happens in the room. And sometimes the energy and the vibe is just not great. And sometimes we're not feeling particularly well. Sometimes you had a bad morning. You didn't eat breakfast. You didn't sleep well. You had a bad dream. You had a fight with your best friend. This is life and this is real. And this, especially when we're not a seasoned performer yet, and we don't know how to work with all of that and to deal with. So we come into audition room and it just goes south because we're not in our best place. It's just like taking on test day at school. Well, some days, you're up for it. You're good. You had sleep. You ate breakfast. You're good and you're fine and you feel like you know your stuff and you're good. But a lot of times you're sitting there going, I'm really, really tired and I can barely stay awake right now. And I really feel worried about this thing happening in my life. And oh my gosh, in my next class, I know this thing is happening and I'm preoccupied with that. And I think that's real. And so the more experience we have in doing these things and being on stage and auditioning, the more we are able to temper those things in our life, be present in the moment. There you go, hon.
But overall, if you have the love for it, if you have the drive for it, there will be a space for you and you'll be able to carve a space out for yourself.
You are so right. And you keep coming back because the no does not mean you're bad at this. The no does not mean you shouldn't do this. The no does not mean, that there's no place for you in this world. It means in this show at this time with this particular cast, there is not the part for you at this time. That's all that means.
Because shows can be very specific.
They can be very specific, and there are many different people who are bringing contributions, and it has a lot to do with how that cast goes together and not you as an individual. So if you're going to be a performer, you have to understand the no.
You're going to get a lot of
no's, and you have to understand that the no is not no and never come back again.
It's not a stop.
It's not a stop.
It's a try again.
Thank you, sir. That is exactly what it is. And please do come back, and your part will come, and your time will come.
Yes, exactly.
And don't, as they say, don't quit 2 minutes before your miracle. The thing is coming. Keep coming back.
This is more for any aspiring directors or casting directors out there. And this I don't know how much I'm allowed to probe into this specific part, but how do you make sure you're making an informed decision when putting together an ensemble, like in terms of matching energies and different types of characters?
How great. I love this question because honestly, Colin, it's the same in this situation as it is for a performer. You're always just doing your best with what you have and going with your gut and kind of hoping in the end that it flies. Could you get it wrong? Yeah. Do you sometimes midway through a show go, it's interesting how I cast this. Boy, that would have maybe even been better, this one here and this one there. But here we are, and let's make this all work. And sometimes some decisions be made. Sometimes, depending on the cast of the show and what you have going, there are some changes that can be made. And certainly in the professional world, there's a lot more that's done than there is in our community theater world. So where was I going with this? I went off in a direction and now I lost my train of thought. Let's all take a breath. We'll have some water. We'll come back to it and understand what it was that we were talking about.
We can cut do our things. We're good.
Picture this for me. Warm food, right? People chitting and chatting all around you like it's a big family. Take a whiff in. Breathe it in deep. What do you smell? What is that? What is that? What is it? Tomato? Ooh, a little bit of garlic? Yeah. Perhaps a bit of that mozzarella cheese? Oh, you know it. Open your eyes. Where were you? That's right. Canateros, dine under the vine with a hand-tossed pizza made the old-fashioned way. You know what I mean? None of that deep-fried gunk like at those national chains. No. If you want good quality, family-made Italian food, go to Canateros. Trust me.
Okay, tell me the question again so I can come back to it.
As a director, how do you make sure you are making an informed decision in terms of putting together a cast and ensemble in terms of matching energies and different characters and performances?
Totally. So one of the things I do in order to make sure as a director I'm putting together the best cast possible, and I am making an informed decision, as you say. It's really interesting because, again, working in children's theater, there is a community of kids who come up again and again. Yeah. And I know these kids. Yes. I love these kids. And in many senses, I'm a teacher for these kids. And I want them all to fly. And I want them all to be the stars. And I want them all to have the part that they really want. So I have to temper my own desire for them with also an understanding of what's right for the cast. As a whole, how it
unbiased.
all exactly the unbiased approach. There are some directors who sit in an audition room on their own and they make this assessment themselves, and that's great.
Yeah.
And in the end, my cast is my decision, but I usually bring in an AD or some assistants, or maybe have a producer sit in, have some others present because I want to bounce things off of them. And as I start putting together my cast, I want to play with their thoughts as well, and sit with that and see how theirs jive with mine. Now, again, I don't always go with what they think. In the end, I have to do what I think is right. If I co-direct, it's definitely what we think, and we have discussions back and forth of how we think this should be. And I've directed with Mr. Larson a few times, and we have a really great ease with how we're able to share those ideas and put those casts together. We really do mash and meld a lot in what we think in that direction. And Miss Jessie and I have partnered a lot in that respect as well, and we have a good rapport for doing that. I cast a show that you happen to star in, my friend, and I will tell you that after auditioning with my team, I put together a cast and said, I'm going to sit with this until the morning and see how I feel about it, because I wasn't certain. And in the morning, I kind of redid the whole cast and then messaged out to my team, this is what I'm going with. So it goes like that too. In the end, you have to trust your gut, but I rely on, I at least want to hear what others have to say.
Say it out loud.
Again, I'm very collaborative. Not every director has the same sensibility, and that's fine. This is not, my way is not the only way. But for me, collaboration, shared ideas, riffing off of each other works. It works in the same ways it does for actors on a stage. You feed one another. You are enhanced by that experience with one another.
Playing off each other.
Absolutely. So if the whole show succeeds, the director succeeds, and it doesn't need to be that it was just the director who decided all those things or made all those things happen. In fact, it can't be that way. It's got to be all of us coming together. That's what I have to say about that.
Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
How does those types of decision, that process, differ in terms of creating something like the Superstars, where there's not necessarily a specific show and specific characters, but it's just an individual type of ensemble?
Great question. I love that question because that is very different. Although the Superstars are an ensemble troupe, and therefore, if there were anybody auditioning from whom there is that over-the-top diva, non-gender specific vibe, that individual probably would not be a good fit for the Superstars as a whole, because we are in it together. And having auditioned with the Superstars, you know that a part of that audition process is also how we provide feedback for one another.
Mhm.
We are present with one another,
Yes.
and we receive from one another,
Mhm.
and we give to one another. So that is part of our audition process
Yes.
as a superstar. Um, Aside from that, a superstar has to bring it in their performance. We can't just phone it in because
Mhm.
we've been a superstar before, because
Mhm.
everybody tells us how great we are on stage. No, we want to see real character, real performance in dynamic ways happening in that audition.
Yes.
And see that that person is really directable, workable, and wanting to grow. And again, collaborate. I love that word, collaboration. So those are important things for us to see, that they're prepared, they
Mhm.
come with their pieces as we've asked for. That shows us that they want it and they want to be present for it as well. We also, Miss Jessie and I have a sense of, there's a number in this troupe
Mhm.
who we want to be able to give to each of these kids, and there's only so many for whom we can dig
Yeah.
in the way we need to dig in.
Mhm.
So there are times like this year, there are kids who weren't cast who are so close and really have so much to offer, and I
Mhm.
hope they come back to audition
Again,
this
it's not a
next
stop,
year.
it's a try
It's
again.
thank you. Thank you for repeating that. It is not a stop. Please come back. And because we want to keep those numbers down. And
Yes.
so if I were to make the troop, which we did one year, we had a really large troop, and
Mhm.
it was really hard.
Mhm.
It was really hard to give each of those
Yes, their
individuals what they
time
needed, their
in
time,
the sun.
their attention,
Mhm.
exactly, and their time in the
The
sun.
chance to grow. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
We can't do it with those numbers.
Mhm.
So we've got 15 this year. It's a good number. Really can work
Mhm.
really well, and it's been. I'm so proud of this particular troupe, you
Mhm.
and all of your ensemble.
Thank you for that.
Hmm.
Do you have anything you would like to say to any of the folks out there who are looking to get cast in the show, who maybe have not done theater before, or who are trying theater again after a long time, or anything like that, just to sort of
Yeah.
words of encouragement or advice?
I
or
do. It's
tips or anything?
way, yes, 100%. It is way scarier in your head than it is in reality.
Yes.
We make it out to be
Mhm.
this thing so much beyond what it is because, of course, again, we are putting ourselves out there. We are being
Yes.
vulnerable, and that is just a vulnerable place to be,
Mhm.
right? That's it's a little scary to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, and it is a
But
little bit scary.
hmm
Mhm.
But we make it more than it is, I think.
Yes.
And we work ourselves up and we psych ourselves out. And there are a number of people who then don't even audition because
Mhm.
they've really just psyched themselves out from it and they've gotten in their head about it. I
Yes.
was just talking with somebody half hour ago who was saying that very thing
Mhm.
about why he probably didn't audition for Superstars this year. Got in his head a little bit about it. And we do that. So I think that is one of the biggest detriments to us coming in is we make it scarier than it
Yeah.
is. And again, if we take it as our mantra to be present and to keep in our heads that every audition is an opportunity to perform.
Yes.
It's just a performance.
Mhm.
Get out there, and I don't mean just a performance, it's a performance. So get out there and perform
Yes.
and let that be the goal.
Mhm.
The goal is to have a great
Yes, have
performance.
a good time.
Anything else is gravy because you are completely powerless over how all the parts and pieces fit together
Mhm.
in a casting decision.
Yes.
You may be a rock star in that role, but how you need to partner
Yes.
with other performers,
Mhm.
you just don't have the right chemistry with this other group that needs to come together.
Collaboration.
Or right, it's a collaboration. You don't exist on your own. So you might be really great, but there's this other individual who's really great, and that individual also fits better with these other individuals in terms of how the energy, how the performance all comes together,
Yes.
at least in that director's
Mhm.
assessment. Another director might feel differently,
Mhm.
and that's just the roll of the dice in this. So, I too have been turned down from parts that I
Mhm.
wanted. I too have not been
Yeah.
cast in things that I've auditioned for. I've not been cast in the roles that I've wanted, and I've
Mhm.
had the opportunity to star and to have the part that I wanted
Mhm.
and the part that I didn't think I wanted. And
Mhm.
what is that? And then, oh wow,
Yeah.
how fun was
And then you
that?
love it.
And
Yes.
love it. And
Yes.
I can really make something with this,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
how great to work with everybody else
Yeah.
anyway. So, and I love actors who come to play like that. There's always a couple kids in every show who you just know you could on any day put that kid in any part and they would play with it, have fun with it, enjoy it.
Full smile on their face.
Exactly.
Go for it.
And like wherever you cast them, rock on. They're so happy to be there and make the most of that they just make everything better for everybody. I love that kind of performer. That's just is such a great way to be. Yeah. So again, don't know if I answered your question at all. I went in many directions, as is my wont. So
you answered it better than I ever could. So
oh, you are too sweet, Colin. Thank you, honey.
Of course. Well, thank you for talking to me for
my
about
pleasure.
half an hour. This has been fantastic to be able to talk to you one-on-one in this type of environment just for me personally. And I'm sure that everybody who is listening to this will also appreciate your advice and your words of wisdom.
You're so sweet, honey. Thank you. This has been a real honor to be asked to do this. And I love our little theater community and anything I can do to encourage each of you out there who even have a thought, maybe I'd like to try. Give it a try. I promise in your head it's scarier than the reality, and the rewards of actually doing it are so huge. And really to be a part of the team, putting together something creative and beautiful, funny, whatever. Oh gosh, there's just nothing better. So come on out and play. Give it a try. We're nice.
We don't bite most of the time.
Most of the time, unless it's in the show. No, really, we don't do that because we're safe and we follow all safety protocols.
Yes.
So that's it.
Yeah.
In today's day and age, it's more important than ever to remain informed and present in your community, which is why today we would like to highlight the Chino Champion local newspaper. Make sure you keep up with all of Chino's great local events like festivals, meetups, and live performances, virtual or otherwise. The Chino Champion. Thanks for tuning in. Please, subscribe to Steps to the Stage on your favorite podcast platform, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. And scene.